You've felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
Gordon Brown said he was considering it. Now he's confirmed it. All UK airports will get these scanners. BAA, who owns 6 airports, including Heathrow, say they're going to introduce them as soon as is practically possible.
Just to make us obedient servants of the state, to teach us that they are in charge of us and tell us what to do, and we're robots and we're supposed to obey them. That full-body scanner actually is probably dangerous to us medically. It does have some X-ray involved. It's all just conditioning us to be obedient to the almighty state, and I think it's a bad sign for us. The greatest threat to a government are the people who think for themselves.
Predictive programming is a strange thing, because when you're being entertained, you don't realize you're also being indoctrinated with an idea, and you're not passing judgment while you're watching entertainment, because the sensor part of your brain is not involved. So therefore it stays in your subconscious, and then when you hear it's coming out into reality, they're actually going to do this, it's familiar to you, and therefore it's not such a big deal. You go along with it. That's what predictive programming is all about.
US technology for stopping airline hijackers could someday involve an electronic bracelet.
Strapped onto their wrists, it would disable them by shocking them.
The bracelet has a capacity to shock who's ever wearing it, kind of like a police taser.
The electromuscular disruption signal overrides the attacker's central nervous system.
This promotional video shows the technology. Electromuscular disruption. A transmitter would send a signal, and the bracelet would override the central nervous system, knocking the person down to the ground in a fetal position.
Well, why don't we all put dog collars on and zap each other through the airport? It makes no sense.
The most effective and the most powerful, and it's used on us all the time, is something I call problem, reaction, solution, which work like this. Problems created secretly. You then use the media, which isn't difficult, to wind up public opinion in relation to your manufactured problem to the point where public opinion utters the classic words, something must be done, this can't go on, which is always followed by, give my power away, what are they going to do about it? And at that point, those who created the problem and got someone else to be blamed for it wound up that public reaction, then openly in the public arena, in the parliaments of the world, in the newspapers and on the television, offer the solutions to the problems they have created.
So he said to me one night, he said that there's going to be an event there, and out of that event you're going to see, we're going to go into Afghanistan, so we can run pipelines from the Caspian Sea, we're going to go into Iraq to take the oil and establish a base in the Middle East, and we're going to go into Venezuela and try and get rid of Chavez. And the first two they've accomplished, Chavez they didn't accomplish, and said you're going to see guys going into caves looking for looking for people that they're never going to find. You know, he was laughing about the fact that you have this war on terror. There's no real enemy. He's talking about how by having this war on terror, you can never win it, because it's an eternal war, and so you can always keep taking people's liberties away. And I said, how are you going to convince people that this war is real? He said, but the media can convince everybody it's real. I mean, you know, it's just that you keep talking about things, you keep saying it over and over and over again, and eventually people believe it.
And in Brave New World, you have Aldous Huxley describing a society in which children are disconnected from their parents, where they're bred in laboratories, and where drugs are used to get the children to, and as they become adults, the whole population, to love their servitude and not rebel against it.
If a man and a woman wanted to have babies, they would get married. And then they were only supposed to have sex with each other.
For how long?
Their whole lives.
So you mean they were mothers and fathers?
There is no need to use bad language. Yes, the old system encouraged many negative things. Envy, deceit, possessiveness, children raised in bad conditions, and they had no soma to ease the pain. Life was very different before the wars. It wasn't until the world was unified, under a rational, scientifically enlightened government, that real progress could occur. And now we live in luxury, harmony, and safety. Could there be a better time to be alive? Let the world say thank you with soma.
You can see the world that they're bringing us into is one controlled by pharma as well, just like that THX movie.
Take 4 red capsules. In 10 minutes, take 2 more. Help is on the way.
It had all of that in it, where you get drugged all day long. They test your blood and your urine all day long to see if you need to up one drug or another, or if you've missed some altogether. That's the kind of society they want to bring in. They want to alter society in such a way that everyone is completely manageable by the governments. Why do you think they're giving you reality shows? Why do you think that everybody wants to be on camera? You're getting trained to be domesticated. Trained. As you think you're actually getting more freedom. You're copying what you see on TV.
Technology on the cutting edge. We were interested today to hear that more than 100 law enforcement officials in Mexico are having microchips implanted in their arms. The chips allow a person to be scanned, sort of like a cereal box at the supermarket checkout.
The chip, developed by Applied Digital Solutions, is similar to those used in the U.S. to identify and return runaway dogs.
Placing a tracking microchip under a service member's skin. Former U.S. Special Operations officers tell us they believe that's being developed. Some law enforcement units back home have experimented with chips that give physical data about officers but don't have tracking signals.
With astonishing dexterity, a monkey reaches out to grab and turn a handle, the robotic arm controlled not by its hands but directly by its brain. The mind control works through a device implanted directly into the motor cortex, the part of the brain that governs voluntary movement.
The brain is a series of electrical signals, and you can already sort of create chips and implant them in mice that will give them sort of memories and ability to recognize things. And you could conceivably have, you couldn't have an implantable memory that I remember being with you last Tuesday, but you could implant memories of space or texture or things like that. And that's something that people are going to try to do, and it may work, it may not, but so in a way, we'll start becoming more robotic a little bit. We'll be, physically and computer enhanced.
Woo, it's going to get scary.
The other thing they're working on is to link your brain to a computer. In other words, you could think Google and think search and it would do it for you. Is that possible?
And again, sounds pretty science fiction. It's happening right now. There's a man named Matt Nagel who 3 years ago, a paralyzed man, he rolled into a lab in Providence, Rhode Island, got a brain implant. He can now move a robotic arm. He can now control a computer just by thinking.
And when you're being downloaded through fiction, your guard is down. The sensor part of your brain is not in action. It isn't saying, yes, I agree with this, I disagree with that, as you would in a debate or a lecture. You're actually in an alpha state, being completely downloaded with new ideas.
Somebody put an implant inside me. I got a good feeling they put one in you too. You need to get help.
While you were sleeping, everyone in the city was installed code. It was a brilliant idea by Dr. Cocteau that an organically bioengineered microchip be sewn into the skin. Sensors all over the city can zero in on anyone at any time.
I can't even conceive a visual of what you police officers did before it was developed.
I work for a living. This fascist crap makes me want to puke.
What do you think you're scratching, caveman? You really think we'd let you go without control? Your code was implanted the second you thought.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant.
One ant. Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss. They're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this brain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one? Are you kidding? How about this? You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
How bad
do things have to get before you do something? Do they have to take away all your property? Do they have to license every activity that you want to engage in? Do they have to be throwing you on cattle cars before you start to say, now wait a minute, I don't think this is a good idea? How long is it going to be before you finally resist and say, no, I will not comply, period?